Well, there's definitely been a lot happening in the cruise industry. Which would you like first, the good or the bad news? Let's get started. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the cruise news, in particular that pertains to Carnival Corporation. And I'm going to be delving into those details that you just won't hear in the mainstream media. Now, we'll go through what might be bad news to some, but what is also really some good news, or at the very least, has a good silver lining. So if you want to hear some positive things that are going on in cruising, as well as some indicators of how we are getting closer to cruising, then definitely make sure that you stay till the end. So before I get started, I did want to mention that if you do like this video, if you find it helpful or informative, please do remember to give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And as well, please consider subscribing to the channel. So let's get started with that information now. Okay, let's start with some Carnival Corporation news about their cruise ships. Carnival Corporation has now sold or scrapped a total of 18 cruise ships, and this is up from the amount of 13 that we were told about just a couple of months ago. And of course, this doesn't mean that Carnival Cruise Line has sold 18 cruise ships. This is really across the entire brand. So this includes Costa, Princess, Holland America, and others. However, if we are talking about Carnival in particular, we did get a lot of cruise news this past week about their cruise ships. So sadly, for people who just love these small ships, Carnival Cruise Line has sold 2 more fantasy class ships. These are the Fascination and the Imagination. Now, these are cruise ships that were built in the early to mid-90s. And in addition to these cruise ships, in July, we had heard of 2 other fantasy class ships that were also sold. The Fantasy and the Inspiration. Now, if you are a lover of these small cruise ships, not to worry, there is actually still some good news. There are going to be 4 remaining fantasy class ships that you will be able to book in the future. And the nice thing is they will actually be updated. So when they do come out and they are ready for service again, they're going to come out with enhanced dining options, with enhanced entertainment options, and more balconies. All right, in more Carnival news, this can also be considered some bad news. Carnival has canceled some cruise ships, some cruises, up until the end of the first quarter and even into the second quarter of 2021. However, the reason that they did this is for 4 cruise ships, they were actually scheduled for dry docks. So they really needed some refurbishments, some updates. And rather than bring them into service before those dry docks and take them out to have the dry dock done, they are simply not going to be going into service. They're going to be on hold. They'll have their dry dock, they'll have their refurbishments, and then they'll enter into service after that point. The 4 cruise ships that are affected are the Magic, that is due to be returning to service in Miami on March 13th. The Paradise from Tampa, that's due to return to service March 19th. The Carnival Valor, which is due to return to service on April 29th from New Orleans. And the Carnival Spirit, which is due to return to service on June 12th from Brisbane, Australia. So, of course, anytime there's a cruise canceled, it is bad news, but there is actually some good news, or at least a silver lining to this. So firstly, the cruise ships that are being taken out of the fleet, being taken out of service, were actually not very fuel efficient, which of course, cruise lines want to try to have cruise ships that are more fuel efficient for the environment, as well as for cost and for efficiency. We do know that the new cruise ships that are coming out from Carnival, the Mardi Gras and the New Celebration, are going to be a larger capacity. So they are going to actually almost make up the capacity of those cruise ships that are leaving. Now, if you're a shareholder for Carnival, something to keep in mind as well is this will make for a stronger, more profitable company in the long run. And finally, I think there's some good news showing that Carnival is looking ahead into 2021, and they are definitely coming up with a plan as to what cruise ships are sailing where. So this is some good news in that way, that they really are actually planning. This is not just a regular cancellation due to the situation and the health crisis. This is actually deployment changes And these are all good things as the cruise line plans. So before we get into other cruise news, let's talk about another cruise line that has sold cruise ships, and that is Princess Cruises. They have sold the Sun Princess and the Sea Princess, and in a similar way to Carnival Cruise Lines, they are selling off those smaller, less efficient cruise ships that really do need to be updated if they were to continue to sail. Now, in the case of these ships, what Princess is saying is, on the most part, these ships really serve the Australian market, and they are removing these cruise ships, but it also gives them the opportunity to provide more options for Australians going forward. Now, if you are a Princess cruiser, you probably have noticed that Princess has actually been making a lot of deployment changes and actually changing some of their cruise ships from one area to the other, and really even replacing cruise ships, including in Alaska. So do keep an eye on the updates if you are a Princess cruiser. All right, we're going to shift gears for a moment and talk about some cruise news before we get back into more cancellations. Now, in major cruise news, we are having a change in tone in the message from the cruise and travel industry. The Set Sail Safety Act has been introduced by two Florida senators, Senator Scott and Senator Rubio, and really this is a recognition of how important the cruise industry is for Florida in particular, for the economy, both locally, the cruise ports, and really we do know that the cruise industry is really very important, and it's affecting, whether directly or indirectly, so many jobs. And really it is a way, a push for the cruise industry to be able to get back and to sailing again. We also saw that there was a meeting in Miami very recently between the cruise line executives and really cruise industry leadership, including the Port Authority in Miami and the mayor of Miami. And basically what they did is they really spoke about the cruise industry, how to get back to sailing. And we did hear a push from the cruise line executives saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but let us get back to cruising. Let us show that we know how to cruise safely. Let us have a chance to put these safety protocols into place. They are cruising in Europe, and we want to be able to do that too. And Norwegian Cruise Line's Frank Del Rio actually said enough is enough. So this is definitely a change in tone and really a change in message, where the cruise lines, I think, are pushing towards, let's get back to cruising in terms of that we have a plan as to when and how we are going to cruise. So keep in mind, this doesn't mean they're going to be sailing tomorrow. Cruise lines actually are on a voluntary pause until at least the 1st of November. Some cruise lines have even extended their cancellations voluntarily up until mid-December or even 2021. But it does mean that the cruise lines would like to be able to get started and make some plans for sailing safely again. So now I have some news that is not in the United States, and this is about P&O Cruises, and unfortunately they have some cancellations. Well, and that of course is not very good news. P&O is a British cruise line that is also part of the Carnival Corporation, and they have canceled, unfortunately, cruises in the Caribbean up until the end of January 2021, and cruises leaving to from Southampton in the UK up until the end of February 2021. And what they say is that due to the evolving travel restrictions in that area in the UK, it just makes cancellations really something that they have to do, and they are closely monitoring the situation. So now I told you that there would be some good news. So let's talk about Costa Cruises. Costa Cruises really, along with MSC and TUI Cruises Mindshift, they have been doing a phenomenal job cruising in Europe. So Costa has been cruising out of Italy, and of course they are following the safety protocols for during this time, and they're just doing a phenomenal job. They've had one cruise ship that has been sailing, and they're going to be adding a second and even a third. So if you'd like to see all about those protocols, I did discuss them in this video, so please do take a look at that or watch it at the end of this video. So I hope that this video has been helpful or informative or gave you a little bit of good news with a little bit of silver lining. Now, please let me know if your cruise has been affected, or even if one of those cruises that has been sold, if that was a favorite cruise ship for you. Please let me know in the comments below. Now, if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And of course, please consider sharing it with a friend and subscribing if you are not already subscribed. Now, also, make sure that you do check back for an upcoming video all about the CDC no-sell order and what is going on with that. Now, I am on Instagram and I am on Facebook at Lifewell Cruise, and I'd love to connect with you there. Thanks for watching and happy future cruising.